We need these changes to be delivered as a matter of urgency. Implementing change is always difficult and time-consuming, so we need to ensure that we do not allow legislative delays to hinder progress. When I look around this room today, I know there are a lot of people with different views and opinions as to the way forward. But I also believe that we are all united in acknowledging the extent of our challenges, in accepting that the status quo is not acceptable, and in supporting what is best for our city and region. Limerick Chamber has been at the forefront in lobbying for the necessary changes we need, and we will continue to do so. But we also recognise and accept the divergence of opinion, so we also support open, honest and informed debate. Today we offer that forum to you, and after Denis's speech we will allow time for some questions and answers also. Our region needs a strong, vibrant city of scale, and the businesses in our city need lower commercial rates. Let's listen today with an open mind. Let's ask the right questions, but more importantly, let's rise above individual needs and look at what is best for the people of Limerick and for the region, and to support the leadership and opportunity now being offered to us all. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and give the warmest of welcomes to our guest speaker today, Denis Brosnan.
Minister, members of the Oireachtas, mayors, county managers and guests, thank you all for coming today, and maybe thanks very much to the Chamber and to its President for giving me this opportunity to explain, I suppose, one, our report on renewing local government in Limerick, and I suppose also somewhat of an update on the work of the task force. The report on renewing local government in Limerick resulted from the initial task force work, and where the government picked up item 11 of those recommendations, which was to form a commission or form a committee that would look at how Limerick was being governed, and number two is how Limerick should be governed. I would like to thank, obviously, the government for acting promptly in getting this done. And our report on governance, I know it will not please everybody 100%, but perhaps I can explain a little bit today. And for all those here today, many are here in different ways connected with politics, we had to also bring into our thought process the act of the possible. We could easily have come up with maybe the ideal solution on the governance of both Limerick and the whole region, knowing that it might be on a shelf in a government department for the next 20 years and this region would not move forward. Let me take you perhaps back a little bit just to the report initially of the task force. As I said, the governance of Limerick was item 11 in that report. But in January, we all remember back to January 2009 with the Dell layoffs and the setting up of the task force, and the task force completing its interim report in about 6 months, and in July, in fact, giving 20 recommendations back to government. At that point of time, as we commenced our work, January 2009, there were 25,000 people in this region on the live register. We suggested that it could peak in the order of 50 to 55,000 if many actions were not taken by government. And we know where it is for the last few months. It's there stubbornly at about 41,000. So we didn't hit that dreadful figure of 50. But of course, two things happened, as we all well know. One is there's been quite a lot of immigration of young people, again, going out of this country to get jobs. And number two is things have improved in the region. Many of you would know, in fact, that this region has bottomed out, I suppose, into a state that we don't like very much, but at least it's bottomed out. Maybe the good news or the bad news, and I'm not sure which I will give you first, but perhaps the good news is that we're now only the third worst region in the country, and the bad news is because we're now only the third worst, that government can forget about us and concentrate on the two that are worse than us. So we have to be cognizant of that point, but more than anything else, and for all those who are in Leinster House, work diligently on behalf of the community in Leinster House, what they would well know is that, call it either the vibes, and some people do more than vibes, they simply say that the Midwest, this great Limerick, Clare, Shannon region, in fact, that they're always looking for government handouts, and perhaps the day must surely come when they, the region, and we ourselves who live in it, we can start helping ourselves. In the January this year, 10 months ago, 6 months after the task force report was produced, and nothing was happening. On the 22nd of January, many that are here today came to what we called a briefing on the task force work. And I would like to thank all those who came, and all those who got involved, and all those who brought up the issues, both in the Dáil and in the Shannon, and brought up the issues and got a lot of things happening in this region that might otherwise not have happened. We talked at the time of, how bad things were, and they were very bad 10 or 12 months back. Unemployment, the state agencies weren't delivering anything. Shannon Airport was in, I use the phrase, in terminal decline. Unfortunately, it's still, as I said a few weeks ago at a function in launching the governance of Limerick, I said, please, can we get this one out of the way so we can all get back to tackling the other problems that the region have. And of course, Shannon Airport remains top of that list. Tourism was declining in 2009, declined further in 2010. At that time, which was last January, we had 38,000 people on the live register. That has slowed down. Today it's 41,000. But again, I said to thank all those who came to the January meeting, and we said, please come and start raising things in Dublin, in the places of authority, and in places where we know we can get action underway. But to get back to the actions, and I suppose to get back to what has happened in the region, why we can't all the time be pessimistic, but what's happened in the region. Lots of people have been shouting, maybe I've been shouting, but those who represent the region have been shouting. And with all the noise we have been making, we have delivered quite a bit. I'm not saying the task force delivered it, the task force highlighted it, but we have been delivering the decline in jobs, perhaps. We have been delivering jobs for those who might otherwise have been laid off. We haven't seen any new ones, but the decline has been halted. I won't say the task force brought to light Ireland's total non-competitiveness, but we screamed and we shouted, and we were amongst those who did. We talked in terms of trying to get people to stay in education, and we know there have been lots of government initiatives to tempt people to stay in education, and that obviously has helped the unemployment figures. But if I get on to the specific ones, certainly we shouted long and loud about setting up a commission to look at local governance in Limerick. We shouted long and loud about the regeneration of those 4 estates that perhaps some people here, many people here, have driven around and driven through, and we've taken our time to get around them as well, which need major regeneration. But as I have said all the time, is that where I strongly support and has absolute support the regeneration of the 4 estates, we must also start shouting about the regeneration of Limerick city centre. We persuaded government to do a lot of other things and to concentrate on them. The Minister, Bat O'Keefe, on the 27th of July, he announced in fact that the region was getting back the status it had lost, which enabled again to get back grant aid. And we're now back on a level playing field, if there is such a thing, with the rest of the west of Ireland, where the EU Commission have approved all of this region for grant aid once again. The temporary employment subsidy, because I know that one because I spent lots of time in and out with the Department of Tourism, but we did persuade, in fact, the various ministers to extend that scheme onto the tourism industry. And it has been very helpful in this Greater Shannon region, where I know up to mid-year about €700,000 was received, and certainly has helped the retention of jobs in that sector. We asked that the region be given special designation by the IDA in particular, and this was done, and the IDA, whereas itineraries haven't converted their way into jobs, there have been a great number of itineraries, unknown to many of you, and a great number of visits through this region, which is particularly Shannon and Limerick City, during the course of the past 6 or 8 months. And we won't shout too loudly, but I think, almost like the salmon coming up the river, that some of those industries will bite sooner rather than later, or at least so we hope. And that's just to give you a flavour of, I'm not shouting the merits of the task force, but probably saying that once we start helping ourselves, it will be the fastest way that we will get this region to recover. And the task force works. It wasn't the task force that delivered the improvements that's there. It's a whole lot of people saying we cannot let the Shannon region decline any further. It's time we all pull together. And so it brings me on perhaps to what I've been asked to speak on today, which is the renewing local government in Limerick. And I will finish by talking in terms of, if we could only get that over the line, what next, or what we must all do next. And renewing local government, the publication has been put on a website and it's been available to everybody. And I will just take you briefly through it. There were, in very good faith by everybody, there were many submissions to us, both by individuals and by the local government itself, and by many others representing the interests of this region.